Do you guys ever have one of those days where every little thing that has been bothering you that week that, like, it's just little things that annoyed you just finally build up and you have this one burst of frustration? That just happened to me. You know, first of all, it started with, I was like reading my book and getting really frustrated because, I was realizing, oh my god, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. And it was stuff that I don't absolutely have to do. Like getting up early to go for my run, going to the pool, and you guys would probably, watching this video, are probably rolling your eyes with those things like that. But it's just things that first of all, I'm just playing, I'm weird. But, and so I get this because I'm a person who actually enjoys staying home and being by myself. I mean, I still am a very social person. I'm still a very social creature. But, my dad, who's a very social person, he worries about me. He wants me to get out. So he's always talking about going to the pool. He always pushes me to suggest to me I go to the pool, which is, I can walk there. It's a long walk, but I can walk there. And I always feel, or I go over to our friends, the Shivaris, and have dinner there. And those are things that I don't always want to do, and I feel pressured. So then every time my dad just suggested, or it's brought up that we're going over to the Shivaris tonight, or like, oh, you should go to the pool, or go to the pool if you want to. Even if he just says, if you want to, it's still kind of, I still feel, I don't know why, I shouldn't really let it bother me. But then at the same time, sometimes I do want to go to the pool, to go for a swim. And if I didn't get up early enough to go for my run, then I feel like it will be some form of exercise. But then the other reason why I don't like going to the community pool, because it is a community pool, I'm surrounded by people who, like, occasionally someone tells me how to swim, because I'm one of those people who I'm not that great of a swimmer. And you know how they say what you're supposed to do is, like, kind of lift your head halfway out of the water so you can breathe. And I'm one of those people who can't do that. I, like, have to pause for a second and stick my head up. It's like people are telling me to do that. I'm like, not what I do, but the other thing. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be in the Olympics here. I am not trying to learn to swim. Yes, I want to be able to swim, but I'm not on the swim team at my school, and I'm not trying to learn, I'm not competing in anything. I just am doing this for fun, And yes, I feel I want to be able to swim and not look stupid, and be able to, like, go in the, swim and not, but at the same time, I don't need people to tell me how to swim. But then I also don't want to be rude and mean, because these are perfectly innocent people who don't mean anything by it. They're just trying to help me. And then there's the other thing about, there's this guy that's probably around my dad's age, who's, established small talk with me one day when I was there, because he was so impressed that I, as a young person, read a book. It's like, do you realize that there are a whole bunch of us out there who read books? And so every time I see him, I want to avoid him, because I don't feel comfortable with small talk. I mean, I can still do it, but I don't like doing it. I don't like doing small talk unless I'm going to become this person's friend. Genuine friend. But yeah, there was that, and then every time I mention how old I am, because you see my face here, I look really young. So I'm having to explain to people that I am 29 years old, and seeing the shock face. I was, oh my god, no, you're not, or I can't believe it. And I just, at the time, I'm like, nope, sorry to tell you, you're not the first person who assumed I was a kid. And that's where the frustration comes in, because people think I'm 16 years old, or at least 18, and like, I am not a child. I've done 2 years of college. I graduated my community college. And yes, I've only done the community college thing. But then, I'm a shy person, and I'm very quiet, and and whenever I'm tired and, irritable and stuff, I have a hard time concentrating, so I can't end up looking dumb, and stupid, and I'm not. Like, one of my managers had asked me if I knew if I could put the tomatoes back, and I didn't know, because the produce is the easiest place to find, where all the produce goes, and I ended up looking like I didn't know. It's like, I've been there, and I'm like, oh, why? Why are you acting like an idiot? And then there was a customer who I put the wrong stuff in the wrong cart. And then it's like, And I know I shouldn't have been like, oh, I'm so sorry, and I didn't do that because I was slow to react. In another instant where, since I cannot drive because of disabilities, I don't know much about cars. I don't know what cars are which. And, the guy was telling me to look out for a car. One of the other bagger slash cart getters was trying to tell me where to look for what cart to keep an eye on a certain person's car. Because she thought, her purse was stolen, so she had to go back to the store, I think. And then, like, the guy was, and the woman, wanted, and she didn't have her keys, so, someone could break into her car, and I think that's what she was worried about. So the other bagger was telling me, can you do me a favor and look out? And I was like, sure, but he had to explain to me which car was it, and I felt so dumb. And finally, everything just exploded just a few minutes ago. I was so frustrated. And the good news is no one was around for me to vent to. I was just venting to myself how frustrated I get. So do you have one of those days where everything comes boiling because you can't really vent to people in the moment and then finally it just explodes? Today was one of those days, and I'm already starting getting hungry, but I wanted to make some videos because I hadn't done any videos in a while, and I watched tips on how to do this, on how to booktube, and they suggest to be consistent, but they also say, if you don't feel like filming a video, you shouldn't pressure yourself. And not that right now, I'm not, I'm fine with this. I'm actually feeling pretty good right now, and this is kind of relaxing, actually, and it's probably because I'm saying all this stuff to you guys on camera. But yeah, it's just, so I'm trying to be consistent, but not trying to force myself to make videos. And it does not, and like on work, when I work that day, I am sometimes just so tired, especially now that it's summer again, and I have to get the cart, so it's hot. The heat makes you tired, and I'm hungry, but I want to get as much work done before I take my 15-minute break. You don't want to take it too soon. And, it's just, there's so many frustrations. And then on top of that, we have some of my dad's friends are coming to visit, and then we have family, my aunt who has not been here yet, and my grandma who hasn't been here yet. And so I'm trying to think of what can I do to make sure I help my mom out, because she's not too keen on it. She doesn't like, because then when people come to visit and stay, not that she doesn't want the company, but it also entails that she has to make sure the house is thoroughly clean and nice looking. And then my family's a little bit, we got our craziness going on, and we got issues in our family, so it's kind of hard to deal with my grandma visiting. I love her because she's family, but her visiting is sometimes there's a lot of effort put into making sure our house is prepared and preparing us mentally for her presence. But like I said, I love my grandma no matter what. I love both my grandmas. And, anyone could get frustrated with their parents, and their grandparents. But in this case, we got a lot of issues on this side of the family. In fact, no, this is, but anyway, so now that I've kind of vented that, I'm going to talk about, this is the only video I can think of to do, because I wanted to give you guys a video, is talk about my current reading. I finally finished Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, and I will be ready to do the next 2 books in the trilogy. The problem with that is that whenever I'm trying to read certain books, kind of doing a sort of TBR, and then that doesn't necessarily always include the next book in a series. And I think that's part of my problem, is I don't always read the next book right away, and then the time gets away from me, and I never come back to it. I'm trying to be better at that, and I think I've said this before on a video, that I think part of the reason why I do that is because there were times when I wouldn't necessarily get the next book in the series right away. So I would not, I wouldn't get to it right away, and now I think that is, even though I have more of a chance of getting the next book in the series, because, I have a job, so I can make sure and then now I've gotten more confident in asking for my mom to order things online for me, because she's the one who does the ordering. for me. See, that's another one of those things that makes me seem really young for my age, because I don't do a lot of the things that most people would do on their own, like buying stuff online for themselves, living in their own house, paying their own bills, getting to work without saying my mom or dad needs to pick me up. But there are a lot of legitimate reasons why. It's just, I always feel self-conscious for having to explain to people, well, I can't drive, and it has nothing to do with, it's not that I'm not old enough to drive, it's because I have disabilities, and I live with my parents, so it's just, so they will take me to work, and they will pick me up. Although I have taken Uber now a few times, because they have brought Uber to here. And, my mom doesn't want me to put my card on the internet, so I have to go to her to order things, and I don't have the card she would prefer me to put on, that she would be okay with me putting on the internet. Even then, I think she's a little reluctant, because I am a bit naive when it comes to the internet. Okay, but anyway, let's get back to this. So yep, I finally finished this. And that page is bugging me, because there's a page in the book that's coming out, and it's like, but to get it fixed, I would have to go to a bookbinder, and it costs money, and it's not worth spending that extra money just for one silly little page. So I just have to be really careful with it whenever I read it again. Where is it? I know it's still in here. Okay, here it is. Oh, wait, no. Where is it? I don't know where it is. It's somewhere. It's like chapter 24. Yeah, here it is. Oh, and damn it, another page is coming out. Damn it. That's the problem with these mass market paperbacks. But they're cheap. So that's why I get them, because they're cheap, and I can carry them like in a bag or something. Although some of the regular paperbacks that are not mass market, you can still carry. I think they're not mass market. You can carry. Like, I could always get the B paperbacks, which are kind of in between trade and paperback. But yeah, I just have to be really careful with it. Or maybe one day I'll buy those. Maybe one day I will be able to buy the nice the UK covers, which I love. Not always, but most of the time I really love the UK covers of books. They're always really pretty. This was so good. I really enjoyed it. And I hear that, the books are just going to get better and better. And I did start his others. I mean, not actually started, but I started buying his other series as well. I can't remember what the series is actually called, but the first book is called Way of Kings, which I have not bought that one. But I did ask my mom if she could get that one along with the Robin Hood book, but I think she's only going to give me one book, and I said Way of Kings is the one I really want right now. At least right now, anyway. This is really good. This was, in case you don't know, this is basically in a world where the people are ruled by a tyrant king, and he has repressed the common people, the commoners, which are called the Ska. And they've become too obedient, and this king has used his power on them to make them obedient. And there are these groups of rebels that have decided to help out the Ska. And the leader of those is Kelsier. And he is what is known as a Mistborn, which is like the magic system in this world is they will swallow a certain kind of metal, and that will give them some kind of special power or ability where they can like move really fast, they can jump off buildings, they can be like Superman essentially. And he wants to overthrow the king, so he gets a crew together and is gonna start a rebellion and he comes across this young girl, the girl on the cover, Vin, who is actually a Mistborn, and she's one of the Ska, so he gets her help. And her part of this is she is sent to infiltrate the noble houses by pretending to be the niece of a noble lord. And And there is a little bit of romance in the story, which I do like, because I do believe, because I'm not one of those people who doesn't want romance at all, because I still like romance in my stories, whether it's in YA or adult fantasy. Because, but I'm also, but like I've said in the past, I don't like reading romance novels. I just like it in the story, but I don't want it to be like the dominant plot, the main point of the plot. But I really, I like that. I like the magic system. I thought that was really cool, and I love most of the characters. Well, actually, I loved all of them, even the bad guy. He was a very interesting bad guy. But like any good, but like any good book, the characters frustrated me at the same time in a good way. It was like, I felt so bad and I pitied them and I didn't understand their way of thinking because I don't entirely think like them. And like, Vin here has a lot of trust issues and I don't blame her, but at the same time, I'm like, they're not, I just get so frustrated because I don't have trust issues. I've never been given reason to have trust issues in people. And Kelsier also frustrated me too. All the characters frustrated me at one point or another. But this was so great and it was so cool and I'm glad. I feel an accomplishment for completing it because this is, like I said, it's so rare for me to complete a 500-page book, especially in one go. Like, to read it all the way through. And I've done 2 of those now. I did Daughter of the Forest, back in early July. I think I started in June, and then I finished it in July, before we left for our convention. And I finished this one until the first week of August. So I feel very proud of myself. And unfortunately, I'm not one of those people who can read this book in a week or 2, but I still was able to finish it in close to a month. And I definitely recommend it. I like Brandon Sanderson in his writing. And I hope to continue with his writing. I hope to continue to enjoy, which I probably will, because I'm a pretty easy person to please when it comes to reading. I mean, yes, there are some things that I will not get into, like I don't like erotica, and, again, I'm not a romance reader. I just like the romance in the plot, but I don't want it to be the main plot. That's partly why I don't read YA contemporary, because most of it is about that. And then the other half of the YA contemporary genre is books that about, real life and people going through things, being teenagers and stuff, and I can't get into that either. Sometimes the plot sounds interesting because I can kind of relate to the main character, like books like Fangirl and Eliza and Her Monsters. I can kind of relate to that type of character, but I still haven't even gotten around to either one of those books. Maybe I'll get it from the library one day, but they only have Carry On at the library last I checked. So, who knows? Maybe they have Fangirl finally there. But anyway, that was great. And I'm currently reading the other fantasy author I want to get into, and that is Robin Hobb. Now that I finished that one, I've decided to get back to this one. This is Assassin's Apprentice, her first book in the Farseer trilogy. And what's really cool about Robin Hobb is, like with the Dragonlance series, I can't remember Margaret Weiss, and I can't remember the original other author's name, because other people have taken over the mantle. What's great is that just like them, what Robin Hobb does is all of her books, and I think Brandon Sanderson is the same way, all of her books aren't in the same world, in the same universe, and they all kind of interconnect in a small way. So there is a certain order to read these books, which is a little bit frustrating because then I have to get the books first. But this Farseer trilogy, I believe they said is the first trilogy you read, and then I already bought, because there was a deal at the used bookstore for sci-fi, even though I don't consider it sci-fi, it's fantasy, and I hate when people assume that sci-fi and fantasy are the same thing. Although you can't have fantasy in the sci-fi and vice versa. I don't consider Star Wars fantasy, but I can see why certain people think, like my best friend, Terry, sees the Jedi's mind power as fantasy. Although to me, it's psychic, it's their Jedi mind tricks are more science fiction-y because it has, it's dealing with the power of the mind. So it's not like magic. To me, it's not like magic. Although some magic, you're using your mind to do things like telekinesis. But anyway, it's a whole nother frustration of mine that is saved for later. I haven't gotten very far. I've gotten to chapter 6. The last chapter was called, our main character, Fitz. Okay, well, first, this is about this young boy named Fitz, who is the bastard son of one of the princes in this world, and the king has noticed him and has decided to take him in, and he is now officially part of the royal family. So it's one of these things where he's like part of it, but he's not, because he's a bastard, but he also is entitled to the protection of the royal family, so to speak. And he is currently being trained to be an assassin, but that recently fell through. That almost fell through because the guy who was training him asked him to do something that he didn't want to do. He didn't approve of doing. He was supposed to steal from the king, who drilled into his head, "You have to be loyal to me. I'm your patron. You have to." And the assassin was all like, I want you to steal this little thing for me. And he didn't want to do it because he still felt like he was being disloyal to the king. And, his assassin trained teacher was like, "Okay, fine, then I'm not coming to teach you. You're worthless. You don't matter to me. If you can't even do that, why should I bother with you?" And it really made Fitz really sick. He was sick with guilt, and so I'm trying to determine what someone said at a certain point in this book. Unless it's maybe Brandon Sanderson's book where I heard, I don't know if it was this one. Although I'm sure it applies to both in that, after 100 chapters or 50 chapters or whatever, or pages, I said, not chapters, then it starts speeding up. The beginning is really slow. A lot of these books seem to I don't know which one I heard that, but I feel like a lot of people say that about books like this, or like this, that it's a slow beginning, but then after 100 pages or 50 pages, it starts to pick up the pace. So yeah, I like it so far. I haven't got very far to really form a judgment, but I probably will really enjoy it. And I can't wait to get more into Robin Hobb's books. And I probably will get the next book and the third and final book in this particular trilogy for Christmas, unless my mom decides to be nice and had ordered me the third book and the Brandon Sanderson book. That'd be really awesome. But she did ask me, okay, which one do you want more? And I tried to let her know when I asked her, because she's staying with my sister because they had problems with getting a babysitter for the boys. So my mom offered to stay there for a few days at their place. So I asked her, and I did make sure to tell her that I understand if you can't do it. I don't expect you to say yes. Just to let her know that I'm not going to act like a bratty little kid if she says no. I'll be disappointed, yes, but, and I was actually worried she was saying no, because she was like, "You're taking a class right now, you don't need to be getting any books right now. You won't have time to read them." She might still say that when she sees me today, because she's coming home today, but, anyway. Okay, and then I was going to do Booktubeathon, but that kind of fell through because I just didn't feel like reading, and I finally got a DVD, or a Blu-ray of Are You Afraid of the Dark, and I just had to watch that. And so I'm actually rewatching it now, even though I probably need to get back into watching Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, so that maybe me and Terry and I could do our little roleplay idea that I had. But Here's, like, this is when I actually do romance stuff. It's like in roleplay, because since it's just the two of us, and roleplay has kind of gone out of fashion lately. I mean, there are roleplay groups, and I'm not as into roleplay that much, but every so often I feel the urge to act out things. And it's just me and Terry, and she enjoys a good romance. So, and romance is just it's easier to do. And it's kind of what I feel like it's something that it's the type of thing, role play between the two of us, that she would like to do. But, I mean, she's also not pushing me to do it, But it's, sometimes I just have the urge to do that, because, new cute little love story type, because I do like it. I mean, again, it's just, I don't like it, where the whole story is basically two people slowly falling in love. Okay, and I am also currently reading and says the girl who just said that she does not like reading where romance is the dominant plot point. But Phantom of the Opera is a classic, and this is a retelling of Phantom of the Opera in modern times. It's in the 21st century, and it's about this young girl who has the gift of, having the special voice, and that her voice is, can hurt people, it sounds like. And because she has such a golden voice, her mom has decided to send her to a special academy in France that her aunt has connections with. Her aunt on her dad's side of the family. And she can't control hers. Every time she hears music, an aria, she has to sing. And she doesn't like that because, of course, it makes her look like she's a diva, and she's not. She's a very humble person. And she'd rather keep to herself. And she's already made some enemies, which is in every one of these especially in young adult novels, there's always the bully in these kind of stories, especially if it takes place out of school. It'd be kind of nice if we didn't have that, but this is also is a book about competition between, at an opera house, so of course you're gonna have that. But it's so far it's really good, and I definitely want to read the original story. Probably read that in October. But I'm actually apprehensive about reading something like that, or continuing with North and South, because my class that I'm taking is British literature. And there's kind of, I'm not studying that, that section of books, not like that era of reading, I don't think. Well, we might still go over that. But still, it might be a little too much to me studying British literature and reading, like, books like Shakespeare, and then trying to read a book, like, by, some of those authors like Dickens and Gaskell and Jane Austen at the same time. So, but I think I still kind of want to read in October, though, the original Phantom of the Opera, because I love the actual musical. So I'm currently reading that I'm currently reading this. I'm liking it. I really enjoy it. And it helps that it's set in France. I have a soft spot for books set in France. And I always have wanted to go back there, because I did go there in 2017, and I fell in love with Paris, of course, like everybody else in the south of France. I just loved it, and I want to go back there. I even thought about asking my sister if we could do, like, if me and her could go on a trip to Europe, and she could show me all the places that she went to when she studied abroad, which that's why we went in 2017, or not 17, that was last year, 2007, we went to visit her when she was studying abroad there during my spring break. So anyway, again, I haven't got very far, and these chapters are kind of long, so it's taken me a while, especially because I like to read more than one book. And like I said, today I was just feeling like there's not enough hours in the day, because, like, I only have 2 days off before I have to go back to work again. I mean, the thing is, that's one of my frustrations, is, like, I mean, people are entitled to their opinions, and I get it. I get why, but I also like watching movies and TV shows. But then I always feel bad about it, and then when people mention that they don't get how someone could, like, and yes, I do agree that you can, if you want to really read more, you can make time for that. And I do feel bad, but I hate it when other people make me feel guilty. Even if they're not directly trying to make me feel guilty, they just happen to be talking about it. About how they don't, and talking about how they're reading all the time instead of watching TV. And it's like, but I mean, it's like, it was my first ever addiction, was TV, watching TV shows. Because it's just another form of storytelling. But at the same time, I always feel bad because books, or sometimes it's better because, TV makes you kind of lazy at times because you don't have to exercise your brain as much because you are already giving someone already gives you the visual. But I feel like you shouldn't, but at the same time, don't dismiss TV just because, I feel like TV is just another form of storytelling. And so I've been trying to balance it out. Like, I'm trying to do both. But sometimes as soon as I turn on the TV, even if it's not an episode of a show that I'm interested in, or if it's a movie I've seen hundreds of times, I'm not paying attention to it because I'm doing the other thing that I'm addicted to, which is watching BookTube videos. As soon as I start it, I have to keep watching it. And it's a problem. I think a lot of people can relate to. So, anyway, that's what's up with my reading right now, and up with me in general. And I think I might start another video where I'm going to talk about Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes, which will probably be split up into multiple videos because there are a lot of episodes. And I'm also going to get something to eat, and I'm going to continue watching Are You Afraid of the Dark because I once again restarted from the beginning. Because I love that show. It is part of my childhood. So so if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't already. I hope everyone is enjoying their reading. And I will talk to you guys later. Alright, bye.